Hi, I'm Rob Young, owner of Blue Dot Wealth Management. We're about to head into one of my favorite times of the year. No, not Christmas, football season.
Hug it, chug it, football!
I've been a football fan for probably as long as I can remember, and a number of years ago, a few of my good friends invited me to join their fantasy football league. And while I was a fan of the game, it took me some time to get used to putting together a team, and my first few years were a bit rocky. After a while, it occurred to me that putting together my fantasy roster was a lot like putting together a portfolio. So how is that? Very simply, when constructing a portfolio or a team, you want to balance risk and reward. My first 3 or 4 draft picks are usually going to be high-quality players with a proven track record that have a low history of injury risk. In the case of running backs, I'm looking for a high yards per carry average and a low rate of fumbles. And if they're wide receivers, I look at targets and catches, yards after the catch, and the kind of offense they play in. These equate nicely with what we would consider blue chips, stocks that weather through all markets and have great management teams. In other words, good offense and risk management. In rounds 5 through 8 or 9, I start to look for role players. These players may start most weeks or they may be interchangeable. This is also an opportunity to find good value that others in the league may have passed over. Risk and reward is still pretty important, and I look for someone that is going to be active in a team's offense. The biggest thing I look for is reliability. I want players that are fairly consistent week in and week out. And this equates well with what we call mid-cap stocks, which statistically tend to be consistent and not always tied to indexes like the Dow or the S&P 500. Around the 10th or 11th round, I start to look for a quarterback. And why so late? The reality is that unless you pick up the top 2 or maybe 3 quarterbacks each year, the next 8 or 10 are fairly interchangeable, and you can spend a higher draft pick on better role players that may have more positive impact on your team. Think of your quarterback or quarterbacks, defense, and kicker like your bond portfolio. You are looking for steady and consistent returns from them. Most of the time, there are a few picks between my quarterback at round 10 and my defense and kicker in rounds 14 and 15. And that is where you start to speculate a little bit. You look for undervalued players or players with breakout potential, or maybe you handcuff the backup players on your roster. This is similar to small cap stocks where you're looking for small companies that are going to grow into larger companies. So I hope this video has made you a bit more excited for football season. I know I can't wait. I may even have to do a mock draft right after I'm done here. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you ever want to talk about football or investing, don't hesitate to reach out. Don't forget to follow us on social media, and you can always look for more information about me and the firm at bluedotwealthmanagement.com. Thank you, as always, for tuning in.